Okay, in this video, I'm going to perform an installation. Get my text file. So basically, I'm going to install SQL Server 2019 on WSL2. The Linux distribution is going to be Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, so and let's go to the Google. So I'm doing a Google search called install SQL Server on WSL. Do a search, and here is the Microsoft web page. So basically, it says get started with database on WSL. Okay, so here's the list of database you can install. MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, SQLite, Redis, and Microsoft SQL Server. So let's scroll down the prerequisite. So you can have WSL2, enabled, and you have a Linux distribution. So we have all this prerequisite is ready. So let's take a look at the system I'm having right now. So let me exit. So WSL minus L minus V. Okay. So the one we are going to use is the Ubuntu 20.04. Okay. So in this video we are focused on the SQL Server. Okay. So let's click on this one, SQL Server, not this one. So let's go down the list. Okay. So this is whatever the SQL Server. Okay. So continue. The first is install MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and then now go to the SQL Server. So the SQL Server section is very simple, very short. There's no detail. So they said you follow this installation guide. Okay, so let's click on the generic quick start, install SQL Server, and then create a database on Ubuntu. Okay, so let's scroll down. With 2 gig memory, so, and also it's kind of outdated. So we now you have Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, so and here is the nodes. Okay, so it's not SQL Server. Let's see somewhere here. I want to point it out. It says at this time the Windows subsystem for Linux WSL for Windows 10 is not supported as a part of target installation target. But regardless, we just give it a try. Okay, so it should be, So let's see. Let's first import the repo. Okay, so let's do a copy. Okay, so do a copy and go to the Linux environment. So what I'm going to do is WSL minus D Ubuntu 20.04. So go into this this environment. Now we're gonna generate the repo. Okay, we use wget. Okay, and with the sudo. So, all right, so I'll give this password. Okay, so the repo, it is created. Let's go to step 2 and sudo add a repository. So This is 18. So I'm guessing we have to use 20. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, if not successful, I have to switch to another one. Okay. So let's go back to this one. So let's change 18. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So I have to change 18 to 20. Hopefully it has this one. It's not working. Let's try one more time. Let's see this one. Okay, so that's fine. We'd be able to pull the repository from the Microsoft website. Okay, so we basically reuse the 1804 version, the Ubuntu repo. Okay, so let's go to step 3. So we're gonna do the sudo update and sudo install. Okay, so let's copy. Let's go back my command window. So update is done. Now we're gonna do the install. So far so good. Once this install complete, we're gonna configure the SQL Server instance. Okay, so here is the command. It's basically run this msql-conf setup. Let's continue. So then you're gonna we're gonna start it up. The use Systemctl. But the problem here is the Systemctl is not supported, called systemd for the WSL. We have to use a different way to start the SQL Server. That is based on my experiment. Okay, and let's go back to the DOS window. All right, SQL Server is installed. It says run this command. Okay, sudo start setup. So we're gonna pick 2 as a developer edition. Accept the license. Enter the system password. So you have to use a fairly complicated one. Okay. Okay, so re-enter. All right, it says configure the SQL Server. So it seems configure finish, but it says the system is not, this error message. That is, means they try to start it up using system control. So basically, the command backend is called systemctl start ms SQL Server, something like that. Okay. So this is the error message, okay, because it's not supported. If you Google, you might able to, port this sysctl system D into the Linux system, WSL, but I don't think that is really supported by the Microsoft yet. So the workaround here, I propose is just use the try to find the SQL Server executable. So basically, before that, let's do a netstat -na. So right now, the only thing running on the it is this the SSD. That is the last video I was started. Okay. So one way I find is to just directly go to this OPT, find where the executable is. Okay. So let's go to the bin directory. Here it's let's see, the SQL Server. That is the executables. So what you can do is you use sudo start it. Okay, SQL Server. Okay. So you see, this is basically the way you just started the SQL Server. Use the executables. Okay, and sometimes it's also if you search internet, you will find something similar. Okay. Also, you see the template DB. So at this moment, everything is ready for you to connect. Okay. So I'm gonna open another window. So let's see. I'm going to use WSL, not this one. So it's basically WS minus V. I'll leave another Windows running. Okay. So what I'm going to do is WSL D. So I'm going to connect to my Ubuntu Linux to another from another window. So from this window, I would like to check what is being started. Okay, I'm going to use net start minus NA, and you will see here 1433. That is default port for the SQL Server to accept. Okay, so and now let's use another command. So in this way it's more clear. So I'm going to use TULPN option, and you will see this is the report started by the SQL Server. You see 1431, 1433, and 1434. Okay, so that is open for connection. So theoretically, the SQL Server is ready for you to connect, either locally and remotely, because I don't have the SQL client installed on the server side, I mean the WSL side, so we try to connect from the remote. Okay, to connect remote, I'm going to use SQL CMD. Okay, this is the Windows client, so I installed. Okay, so use SQL CMD, you see -s, and you need to know the server name. So let me go back to that session. So let's find out the server name. Okay, so this one. So basically, go back to this one. So it's ifconfig. I'm going to use hostmail in this case. Okay, grab a net. Grab. So here is this is my host name or IP address. Okay, and if you can cat etc host to find out. Okay, so this is mainly the local host. Okay, so all right, so let me exit session again. So gonna do the test connection. Okay, of course the firewall should be open. Okay, but we can test out if the file open or not. Okay, .exe. You don't have to type exe, it's fine. So the remote host, I use IP, so AU. So I'm gonna use the SE password, then a password. Okay, the password is the one we just when we do the setup, So let's see. All right, it's connected. So if you see, select add version. You get the SQL Server 2019 and the Linux distribution on Ubuntu. This is. You can start a SSMS, SQL Server Data Studio to connect as well. Okay, and basically the key is here. How do you start the service? Because systemd is not available, so I just have to start manually from command line. So let me kill this session. So okay, so now it's SQL Server is shut down. Okay, so another thing you can do is if you want to put the SQL Server in the background, on the Linux, you can do like this. Okay, so so this is my directory. So what I'm going to do is sudo. This is the path. Path. Okay, so then the SQL Server SR, not SB, SR. SQL Server. So you can put in the background like this, okay? And also you can no hub. So in this way, I think you can put the SQL Server in the background. Let's give it a try. All right, so let's ps -ef. Let's see grep SQL. You see, this is the background process. It's the SQL Server engine process, okay? And also you can check stat -NA, okay. All right, it's back, so everything is back to, so quit. Let's try one more time. All right, it's connected, okay. So now the reason you put into the background, if you exit session, that means I exit this session, right? So, and if you return to this session, let's see, it is still running here, okay? So that means because you put in the background, when you exit session, the Unix background is still running. So, all right, so it's turns out it's not that complicated. It's basically the only difference you need to know how to start the database, engine process. It's basically, let's see, it's this command. I mean, in the real world, if you on the Linux system, if you can use the sysctl start, it's basically behind the screen. It's also running this command. There's really no difference. Just to let you know, okay? So if you see systemctl start or status, can try status SQL Server MS SQL Server, okay? MS SQL Server. But this command is going to fail because the sysd is not enabled. So the workaround is directly run this command as a root or sudo, and then you will be able to start the database engine and connect. Okay, let's do one more connect. Enter the password. Okay, and then select version. Let's see what database is there. So I have 4 default databases. Let's try create a DB database. Let's create a sample database. Okay, it's created. Let's see. Okay, we have 5 databases, so. All right. So that's all for today's SQL Server install on Ubuntu Linux. You can install the same thing on CentOS or Red Hat, if you have the VM. The Linux distro are installed, okay? All right, so it's 20 minutes, so I'm gonna stop here.